If strategic planning is so important, why doesn't every business and every business professional in America use it on a regular basis? Just how long does it take before you actually see visible, measurable results? An internationally respected authority in the field of strategic business planning, Dr. Peter Johnson's experience as a professional speaker, trainer, and strategic consultant spans nearly 2 decades. His corporate background includes customer service, sales, corporate management positions with GE, IBM, McDonnell Douglas, and Litton Industries. And he's here today to tell us about strategic planning and how we can use it in our business and in our life. So let's welcome Pete Johnson. Peter.
Tony.
Nice having you here.
Good to see you.
Strategic planning. We keep hearing the word strategic planning, strategic planning. Just what is strategic planning?
Well, Tony, strategic planning really is a process. And it's very similar to the type of process one would go about if one were going to build a house for themselves. It's putting together the blueprints, thinking through exactly what you want that house to look like. And when you're all completed, how close does the house resemble what the plans were? And as anyone who's ever tried to build anything knows, the more accurate you make the plans, the better the final result. Strategic planning is the same thing. It works for businesses, it works for people's careers, it works for running departments.
So it's basically, strategic planning is basically a blueprint for business success, life success, whatever.
That's correct.
That's what it is. All right, so how is it done?
Well, the interesting thing about it is, it's really got 3 components in it. The first part of it is the process itself, the different steps that you go through to try and develop the plan.
Right.
The second component of it is what we'll call the strategic thinking, or the strategy itself. What is it you're actually trying to accomplish? And the third component is the physical plan, the written plan. And that's the part that does the communications. And unless you've got it down in writing, of course, you may be real clear, but the people that you interact with do not necessarily know where you're going. It's built using 4 phases. The first phase, of course, is something you've heard referred to as focus. In fact, the number of people I've come in contact with who say, you know what I'm really going to do over the next couple of weeks? I'm going to sit down and I'm going to get focused. Well, obviously, that's a critical component.
Right.
The second phase...
But focus meaning clarity?
Clarity. Where do you want to go? You hear people use the term mission,
okay.
Vision. What are my values? What specifically am I trying to accomplish? In business terms, you'll hear terms like pro forma, measurements. Those are the things that take place during focus.
Okay.
The second phase of it is analysis. Now, traditional strategic planning, they will usually try to get you to do something called an environmental scan. That's the technical term for it. That means let's analyze lots of stuff before we figure out where we're going.
Now, stuff being?
Oh, the environment, such as trends in the industry, market opportunities, what the competition's doing,
markets, niches.
Everything.
Okay.
They'll scan databases, they'll pull in information off the internet, and what you have is all of this information you will try to dissect. An approach that I prefer to recommend is determine what your focus is first, then define all of the different questions you need to get answers to, which is in the analysis phase.
Right.
It's less important to know what the answers are than it is to know what the questions are, because the answers keep changing, but the questions pretty much stay the same. So the analysis phase comes second.
Right.
Third phase is what we'll call proposed plan overview. What are you considering as a course of action? And that's where you bring in other people and you brainstorm, if you will. You get input from employees, you get input from colleagues, you ask your wife if it happens to be something that you're planning for your own personal career. Ask your wife, what do you think?
So bringing in our employees, maybe our advisory board, our CPA, our attorney, consultants, whatever.
Certainly.
Colleagues.
Certainly. To provide input. We're in the process of doing some renovation on a house. The number of interior designers that we have brought in and paid their hourly rate just to give us input. And 70% of the time you may discard something that they recommend because it's inappropriate. But it's that 25% that may reaffirm something that you're already thinking.
Right.
And then, of course, the last phase, phase 4, is what I refer to as intensity, or the implementation phase. And when you get the blueprints all laid out, you're sure that the plan is on the right track, then what you do is you implement the plan, or you execute.
And you call that intensity?
I refer to it as intensity rather than implementation.
Okay.
And the reason is, all too often in a business environment, people will refer to, I'm implementing, and what they're really doing is plodding along.
Right.
They're really not intensifying their commitment of resources. And someone who is really using strategic planning, when they get ready to launch something, you know they're going to come straight at you. If it's a new product, if it's a change in position of their company, if it's a startup situation, if somebody is about to make a career change, once they make the decision to go, they go. If you're leaving on a vacation and you develop the plan for your vacation, when you walk out that door, no matter what happens, the plan is in the intensity phase.
That's right.
And if you forgot something, then there was a malfunction in the plan.
Yep.
Okay.
So we have focus, analysis,
planning,
and
intensity.
Intensity. Those are the 4 steps.
Now, those are the 4 phases.
The 4 phases. 4 phases. But you know, as I'm listening to you, it kind of brings back something I heard you talk about years ago, and I never forgot it. I always, and I even say it to my employees, and that is accuracy before speed. Now
well, actually, it's the opening statement that I have in every single presentation or lecture or consulting assignment I do, and that is the importance of accuracy before momentum.
Momentum, okay.
And the way I say it is accuracy first and only then momentum. What that means is most individuals are in such a hurry to get to the results phase of doing things that they will shoot from the hip,
right,
or they will get part of the thing thought through, and then they will dash off to try and get it going. And there's a certain importance to speed as far as execution. However, and I don't know who first said this, but somebody one time said, success in business or success in sales or success in marketing is a numbers game. It's not a numbers game. It's an accuracy game. It's always been an accuracy game. It is an accuracy game today. It will always be an accuracy game. If what you're doing is losing a nickel on every sale and you try to make it up with numbers, you get further behind. If you're going 200 miles an hour, but you're going down the wrong road, don't drive faster.
That's right.
Because you're going to have to reverse.
Right. But, you know, a similar example may be for salespeople, the intensity of prospecting before they identify which are the primary niche markets. So here's people out there prospecting all over the place, but calling on the wrong people. Maybe the wrong people, they're not qualified, they don't have the money, they don't have the need, they don't have the time, whatever. And although there's a lot of activity out there and a lot of speed and a lot of momentum, it's in a haphazard way. And I think we're faced today in an environment where there's rapid change, as you know, and everything, you know, speed, 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 speed. We got to do it quickly. The competition is going to one-up us. And I think it's almost pushing us to want to go into momentum before accuracy. In fact, one of the key problems, one of the key excuses that I hear from people, I even use it myself, and I'm sure you hear it a lot more because you're the expert in this area, is, hey, Pete, I don't have time to plan. I don't have time to sit down and go through all these 4 phases. No, I don't have time to go through the first 3 phases. The last phase, intensity, yeah, I can do that. Let's do this. Let's try this. Let's try this. And as a result, we're running around in circles. You know that old saying, practice makes perfect? You know, practice makes permanent. Perfect practice makes perfect. And I think what you're saying is, if we get the accuracy down, and then momentum, at least we know we're going in the right direction.
Most every time you see strategy used in a situation, you will see some type of what I'll call prototype test. They'll do something to test the water to make sure that all of the components of the strategy are on track so that they're sure that the accuracy is there. And then when they get ready to roll it out, when they're sure the accuracy is there, when they roll it out, they'll roll it out quickly. But they will usually, the water is usually tested first.
Right.
But I'm going to come back to something that you said about in a sales environment. Right now I happen to have a client that is in a similar situation where one of their better salespeople develops, I believe the last number he told me over the phone was 20 new prospects he loads into his pipeline every single month. However, his closing ratio for the month, and this is going back repeatedly month after month, is only 1 or 2 clients. Now think about this. If he loads 20 in, but only 2 close, he's got another person who loads in 10 who closes 8. Now, you see what's going on is one person is very, very aggressive at the prospecting part of it.
Right.
Now, what then happens is you don't have time to qualify and to close all of them. You would be better served if what you did was did 10 and got 10 really good ones, and if you could close 8 of them, you'd be ahead of them.
8's a high. 8 out of 10 is a very significantly high closing ratio.
Which is very unusual. This other individual is their top salesperson. But once again, this goes back to the accuracy game, being crystal clear what the parameters are of a highly qualified prospect instead of prospecting for prospect's sake.
Right. All right. So our 4 phases: focus, analysis, planning, intensity. But now there's steps.
Yes. Those 4 phases actually are an overview of a 10-step process.
Right.
This is when somebody says, well, how do you do a strategic plan? Or how do I write a business plan?
Yeah, how do I do a strategic plan? In fact, I'm in the middle of doing one right now, very haphazardly. You know, I have a PhD in marketing, and yet I don't do, from my own business, what I have taught people for years to do in their own businesses. I don't know if you have the same problem. You're good at strategic planning. You actually do it in your business.
I actually
You're
do.
fanatical about it. You're one of the exceptions. You're somebody who actually practices what you preach. Now, I talk more on communications and sales. I don't talk as much today about marketing planning, strategic planning, but we're going through that right now. So I want to know your 10-step process.
Okay, first of all, let me preface this by saying every business, every manager, every business professional, even anybody who is career-minded, who is serious about where they're trying to go, should use strategic planning in some fashion. What I had done is developed an engineer's approach to doing strategic planning. I've made it so brief, so straightforward that anyone can do it.
I like that. And I like the idea that you're taking this concept out of big corporate. It's small business, and it's even personal, personal growth. I mean, if I want a career change.
I first got into this actually when I was at Data General. And that's when I first developed the model. And I use it to move myself from a position there to a position over at McDonnell Douglas and move very high up in the company in a very short amount of time. There's an abridged version that are 6 steps. Let me give you the overview of the 10 steps. Okay. The first step in strategic planning for a business is what we'll refer to as a strategic overview. This is a thumbnail sketch, and everything I try to define into 1 page, although sometimes you need 1.5 pages or 2 pages. The strategic overview is what takes a look at a snapshot of where you have been and how you've gotten to this point in time. It says such things as, what is my background history? How long have I been doing this? What are some of the things that I've done that have been significant accomplishments or achievements over the last year or 2 years? What kind of problems do I face now or might I face in the future that might impede my forward progress? That's all in this first step.
Right, so that's the snapshot.
That's the snapshot. All right.
Okay.
The second page is
the second step.
Second step is strategic objectives. This is where you have vision, mission, goals, objectives, pro forma, strategic measurements, and there's another component called milestones. Those things that you need to achieve over the next month that will get you in motion.
Okay. Now you're using some terms that I'd like you to quickly, briefly define. I think a lot of people confuse vision and mission. What's the difference between the two?
All right. Everybody has their own set of definitions. Vision is the way I would define vision.
I want your definition.
The way I would define vision is that which you are trying to accomplish very long term, maybe 5 years down the road. It would be described in terms that you are already there. If you were a company, to achieve a position as a major provider of products and services to the X industry with revenue sales of such and profit of such and such by providing exceptional service. Okay, something along those lines.
That's the vision.
That's the vision.
And
a mission.
Okay.
Now, a mission would take that, and it could be multiple statements, and you'll usually see that having a lot more aggressiveness in terminology. And if you're using a vision, the vision is what you may display to the public or show people outside the company, whereas the mission would be something that you would keep more internal for the senior management team. Now, if you do not have a vision statement, you'll use a mission statement. The mission statement would be shown to people outside. You would have, and it would be a detuned, what I'll call market-friendly mission statement. Then you'll have a more aggressive mission statement or an expanded mission statement that you would use internally. Okay. And in there you might describe profit margins, achievement levels, productivity.
So quantitative things internal.
You could put those things into the mission statement. Okay. But it'd be internal. You would rarely do that for external communications. Now, how do you get those things into external communications? You've heard of such things as corporate values, or another term that I've been hearing lately are core competencies. You will show some of these qualitative items as line items, like customer service, product quality, personal performance, respect for the individual. Those kinds of things will be related or communicated as values or core competencies. Now, there's another component I mentioned, pro forma. Those are what I would refer to as strategic measurements. Number one on almost every list usually is revenue. If it's me as a person, how much money do I make in my comp plan? If I'm a business, how much revenue do we generate? If I'm a department, how much revenue does my department generate? From there you step it down to such as number of employees, what is our growth, what is our margin, sick days, attrition, anything that is an important indicator that you or the company feels they need to be monitoring and keeping track of to show forward progress.
So the pro forma is all the numbers, all the numbers, crucial numbers.
All the numbers, and you usually will look forward this year, next year, the following year. You may skip year 4, but you'll usually look out 5 years. Because what happens is, next year when you redo this or revisit this, what you're going to end up doing is modifying the numbers once again.
Exactly.
See, so you're always going to update and fine-tune.
Okay, so we have our first 2 steps, all right? The first one's a snapshot. The second one is
objectives going forward.
All right, third
one. Market research and analysis. Knowing who your customer is, how they go about making decisions, everything there is to know about the marketplace and the customers with it that are important for your success. In other words, who are you trying to influence? If I'm doing this for me, who is my customer or my market within the company? It might be every single vice president if I'm looking for a promotion. How they go about selecting someone to fill a particular slot. In fact, I had somebody call me the other day and they said, I just missed getting a promotion. And if I'd have been more prepared for this, I could have gotten the promotion. I said, you need to know more about the people within your company who may have vacancies for you to move up another pay level. You're paying only attention to the person in your direct line. You're casting your net too narrow. Okay. The next component of this is competitive analysis. In competitive analysis, it's everybody that we're in direct competition with. Those people, another category would be those people who may be looking at us as a role model, who may be looking to come into our markets. And then another component is role models within the industry. We don't necessarily compete with these people, but they are major players on the international front. I need to see what they're doing. What I want to do is I want to look like the mega global competitor in my narrow niche. So I become the biggest fish in my pond. So I've got to know who the alternatives are, where they're strong, where they're weak, where I should be positioning myself. Okay, that's the next step.
So the third step was looking at our
marketplace and customers.
And the fourth step was looking at our competition, whether it is from a business looking at our competition externally, and as a person looking for maybe a job promotion, who else?
Who would they also
be in line?
If you and I are going to be interviewing for a promotion within our company, And I need to know, number one, I need to know what the parameters are for the job. So would you need to know that. But I also need to know who else they're considering,
right,
where you're strong. I'd have
right.
to sit down and figure out, okay, where is Tony strong, where is Tony
Pros and
weak?
cons,
That's right.
right.
And then when I went in, and it was my turn for the interview, and I knew that you were very good at your technical ability.
Right.
I would not start off the conversation by saying, by the way, I am extremely technically capable of doing this job. He said, yes, I know, Tony is too. I'd start off with where Tony would be perceived as perhaps more limited.
Right.
And I would say, my strength is this, 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 and I'd hit your first weakness, your second weakness.
But you're not mentioning it. You're just alluding to it.
I don't even mention
right.
your name or Joe's name or Mary's
right.
name, and I come in and I try to hit where I felt you would be perceived as the most vulnerable, and I'd say those are my greatest strengths. And by the way, I am also very good at this, 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 this. They look and they say, wait a minute, this is like Prego spaghetti. I can get everything with this guy.
That's right.
Whereas I'm aware of this person's limitations.
And you know, the same thing is true in selling. If I know that somebody is considering one of my competitors, never want to talk about the competitor, never want to say anything bad about the competitor, but if I know what my strengths and weaknesses are vis-a-vis the competition, or at least this specific competitor, I can then highlight my competitive advantages versus that competitor. All right, so we have our 4 steps. What's number 5?
Number 5, external analysis. I need to take a look at every single thing that will affect my success long-term that is outside my direct control. Demographic trends,
right.
changes in the industry, changes in my markets,
the economy, the government, everything.
Legislative rulings,
right.
Labor issues that may affect me as a ripple effect long-term. However, keep in mind, these things are changing every single day.
And we have no control over it.
There's nothing you do, but you need to know about it.
We need to know about it because we can adjust and react to it. We can be proactive as opposed to just sitting there and reacting to it.
Rather than get swept up, okay, you now at least see this thing coming ahead of time and you don't have a negative reaction. You can adjust or go with the flow.
Okay.
Now, this is a very tough situation because this is where there is just volumes of information. Once again, I want to reiterate, when it comes to research and analysis, it is not critical to have all the right answers. What's critical is to have all the right questions. So what you do is you make up a checklist that lists by category every single question. And one of the things you may ask yourself are, the demographic trends in my current marketplace or in my current community changing? And how is that impacting me? And what you do is, once a year, you go down through and you ask yourself, has this changed significantly since I asked myself this question last year? If the answer is no, then go to the next question.
Right,
if the answer is yes, you go, uh-oh, on a scale of 1 to 4, how much? A 1. Don't worry about it. Oh, but it's a 4. Okay, 4. Now, the next question I ask myself is this change likely to have an impact on me? If the answer is not really, then even though it's changing radically, but it's not likely to have an impact on me, go to the next question. If the answer is 4, then you put a star next to it and say, I better come back and do research on this.
Right.
Now, on external research, I only have to go back and get information on the things that will have the most impact on me. It makes it 100 times simpler. So that's external.
Okay, now how many steps? What step was that?
That's 1, 2,
3, 4,
3, 4,
5.
5. Okay, let me take you to the next one.
We have 4 minutes to do the last 5
Okay,
steps.
I'm going to go real quick. The next one is internal analysis.
Okay.
That's taking a look at everybody that's close in to me and what their attitude and opinion is on me. In business, it would be like doing an annual internal employee attitude survey.
Okay.
And that's something I encourage every company to do. We've got an outline for one of those that I first saw used at Data General. We've tweaked it, modified it, and improved it dramatically.
So an internal analysis.
Internal analysis. The next one is proposed plan overview. I get all the people around me in teams of about 5, and I say, this is where we're going, this is our focus, this is what we see as our markets, this is what we see as our competition. What is every single thing we should do? If I had carte blanche, no limit on resources, money, talent, what is every single thing I should do?
This is basically brainstorming.
Brainstorming. Okay. And we write everything down. Now somebody comes up and says, Pete, we ought to fire you as the president. Says, okay, let's put it on the list. Doesn't mean we're going to do
that's
it.
Right,
okay?
That's right.
But I want to encourage you to be open and receptive. The biggest problem you run into in business is when doing strategic planning is somebody says, I'm not going to give them my input. The last time I gave them a suggestion, they ignored it. 2 years later, they went and did it, and I never even heard back about it. The next one after that is implementation timetable. what things are going to be moved forward in the next 12 months.
Right.
From there, you do budget and resource allocation. That's where you do the budget. Most companies do the budget first and say, then what should we do in the plan? Do the plan first, then do the budget. Then you come back and you massage them to get them to fit.
Right.
After that, you have tactical implementation plans.
Now that's step 9?
That's 10.
That's 10, okay.
Tactical implementation plan says, this is what we've got budgeted. These are the things we're going to do. Now, who's responsible for this one? We need a task force or a steering committee set up to launch this one. Now we want to make sure that it's on track and we get the job done, and we can put measurable results up.
And you know, this 10th step, we do in my business, and I think it's so crucial. For the longest time, we didn't do that. But when you have specific things that need to be done, when you say, okay, Pete, it's your responsibility, and here's the timeline, you know that when that timeline's coming up, I'm going to be coming to you. Everybody's going to be looking to you saying, Pete, what did you do? What was the result? What happened? Why did, you know, how did it succeed? You know, the accountability is absolutely crucial. In our last minute, what one thing, what one thought, idea would you leave our audience, you know, from our visit today?
Okay. I'd like to make, I'm going to make 2 points here, okay? The first point is, in order for you to ever achieve any high level of success, number one, you must have a plan. That plan must be written. The process must be molded to your situation. We use a manual that's got this all outlined out that takes you through, I think it's about a 32-page manual.
I've seen it, yeah. Very,
we make
very
that
detailed.
available every time we speak to the entire audience free of charge. All they have to do is call in or write for it, and we'll send it out. It comes with an audio cassette tape. It's free of charge.
Right.
We send it. We pay the postage. If anybody is in the process of going through a strategic plan or a business plan, and they'd like to get a copy of it, have them call my office,
Well, that's very
and we'd
generous.
be happy to send them out. This is our contribution to your audience.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. Well, we talked about strategic planning today, and Pete Johnson, our guest, made a very, very interesting offer that if you would like some information, his booklet, his cassette, on how to do a strategic plan, either for your business or for you personally, write me at the show here, and I'll make sure that I get it to Pete, and then he will get the information to you. Hope to see you next week on Strictly Business.